Good morning, everyone. It's 24th April 2017. Welcome to another episode of ProAMT Traders Digest. Disclaimer: trading in stocks derivatives involves substantial risk of loss and not suitable for all investors. Past or simulated performance is not a guarantee of future results. All systems indicator strategies shown here are for education purpose only. All levels discussed here are for understanding the study and not a recommendation to trade. Please consult your personal financial advisor before making any investment or trade decision based on anything that is discussed here. We will not be responsible for any resulting profits or losses. So it was a volatile week after a long time. And as we have completed the week and entering into the expiry week, let's have a look at the microcomposite profiles. So what I've done is we don't have a clean microcomposite on the time yet. So we don't have a TPO microcomposite apart from this where we have the VL at 9096 and VAH at 9121. And the highest one where we have the VL at 9240 and VH at 9264. Apart from that, we don't have a clean micro composite. Seems like the auction is underway and just finding a favorable location to end this continuing auction from the upside. So after leaving the upper balance, it's not going and accepting into the lower balance. So either it might form a balance somewhere into this zone between those two balances, else it might break down through this and create a balance and leave this area completely, not creating another micro balance. So when that is happening, we need to we need something to lean on into this area. So what I did is, if we draw a micro composite volume profile of this entire range of this breakout, so this is one range. So this is the volume profile that we have had on the chart since many weeks. Now, if we draw a micro composite of this upper range, then what has happened is the VL of that micro composite volume profile and the VH of this lower balance are almost aligned together. So this is like a dividing zone of the upper and lower volume distribution. Also, we have a nice LVN, one at 9190 and the other one at 9170 approx. So on the way back up, that might act as a rejection level. Supply might creep in there. So if we see this, the high of this bar is 9171.90 and the low of this bar is 9170.10. So that is acting as a bull bear zone as of now. Now in terms of the monthly VWAP, after a long time, the monthly VWAP was continuously trending up. If you see this month is trending up. January, February is trending up. In March we had one just one occasion where the VWAP started trending down, but that was a shakeout and resulted in a failure to stay below and the trend resumed. Now here, first time, the difference after it went sideways, the difference is almost like more than 50 points in the VWAP. And that has happened for the first time in this trend. And that means the average traded volume at price is coming down. So that's an important nuance to carry forward, because if that is happening, definitely someone has interest in that level. Now, the other important thing to note, we'll look at the projected levels there also we have an important nuance on the uh, standard deviation of this entire range. But meanwhile, let's also check the Bank Nifty micro composite. So here again, this balance last week we were assuming that this balance is incomplete, and that went up, has created a poor high and then fallen down. So this auction also is still underway, not accepting even below this highest balance. And once that is complete, we'll come to know what can be the further course of action. As of now, it is trading within this balance, and this balance might decide where it wants to go, and needs to go down and accept into this lower balance if any major down move needs to shape up below this 21,350 zone. The VWAP has had whipsaws. It was trending up continuously and all of a sudden came down, again went up, again coming down, but has not taken out this from the point it broke out. It has still, the VWAP has not come below that. So there is still some interest at lower levels. The buyers are still interested to buy at lower levels. So till they are interested, they might try to keep the auction up. This is a important HVN 21,568. So around a 10 point here and there around that HVN, that is a nice zone. Now let's have a look at this weekly projected levels. The projected high for this week is 9236 and the projected low is 9023. It has been 3 weeks we have not done the projected high or the projected low. So that's also after a long time. Here if we see, we had 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and this time we have 3 weeks. Not even three, I think 4 weeks. 1, 2, 3, and 4 weeks we have not done the projected highs and lows. So that's also a rare occurrence. Also, here the important thing to observe is, maybe one way to look at this auction is that it ran too much ahead of time. Due to that gap up of March, it shifted the range completely. Generally, what happens is, it does not, when it begins the trend, like if you see here, it is beginning the trend. So the trend was down and it's reversing, and that time it does the projected high, plus it does the one standard deviation, and it does the 1.5 standard deviation as well when the trend is beginning. Here again, event based uh, uh, volatility was experienced. So again, there also it's doing all the standard deviations. But in this instance, in that week of 14th March, what happened is, all of a sudden, it 2 weeks it had not done, it had stayed even within the projected high range, and all of a sudden opened higher and started trading into the 1.5 standard deviation and tried to touch the 2 standard deviation. When that happens, it has run much ahead of time, and as we know that it's a fight between time and price, so value develops when it takes time. So maybe right now it is taking time, because if we see, we have not got a close even below this projected high of that week of 14th March. This projected high was 9069, and or maybe 9068, and we have not got any meaningful development below that. And that means that it is trying to adjust that time. The price is getting used to this zone, it is trying to build that value, and maybe once the participants accept this as a fair price, the rally might again resume. Now, that is a nuance to carry forward. It is not mandatory that it has to build value here and again resume the trend, because the current information that we have on the candlesticks or on the bars is that the weekly is one time framing down, and the daily is whipsawing. It started one time framing down, again started one time framing up, all of a sudden again started one time framing down. So daily is in a whipsaw mode, trying to balance in this zone, and weekly is in a one time framing mode down. Also, the CCI, after staying in trend for so many weeks, is trying to come down, and this is the first sign of a reversal. Last time, if you see, the first sign came in here, that was neglected, and the moment it made this high, post the next week, this went red and we had a nice trending move down. And by the time it got adjusted here, this stayed red, and on the first breakout itself, it turned into green. So this is also, if we objectively look at indicators, indicators can also work. But if we keep on looking at just divergences, and the values won't help. So if we keep the auction process in background, that what is the auction trying to do versus what is the indicator showing, can be very helpful. Okay, while we are here, let's also have a look at bank nifty projected levels. So the projected high for Bank Nifty is 21,865 and the projected low is 21,217. Bank Nifty did the projected high previous week and did the projected low this week. So uh, that is almost like hitting the levels. Now, Bank Nifty CCI is also, it has come below 100, but this has not gone red yet. So it is trying to decide, and the trend has gone into a balance. The weekly is balancing, and my preference was that to match the Nifty levels, the 100 and the 61.8% extension of this swing. So swing starting from the lows of May till the highs of September, and again the lows of December till the recent highs. If we do a extension from the lows of March till September and pull it down to the lows of December, then we get the 61.8 at 22,170. And if it would have done that, then would match with Nifty, which has already done that level at 9,231. Now let's get into the daily composite micro profile chart. So here we had a nice gap up open and a drive down. So we had a open high outside of range, and when it's outside of range, most of the times it holds on. So it pushed into the previous day's range, and then again tried to push down below this HVN. Let us pick up the pen and start marking those levels. So it breaks down into this HVN tries to pull back up. C period tries to pull back up, unable to do so, does not go above this, which is also the point of control of the first period as well as the high of the B period. Is not able to go through that. Now we get a inside bar in D period. Now when we have an inside bar, it tries to break that. So this is like a long liquidation happening. We get an inside bar. That means after like 3 bars down, we have got an inside bar, which is like against the trend the move was coming. And if that comes, it's a important point to watch, and that breakout can be bought. Now if we buy that breakout, E period makes intraday poor high and fails. So when it's failing and breaking this inside bar, that means that we have something important happening. There is a counter auction from a time frame which is above the time frame that is trying to reverse. Not necessarily long term money, not necessarily long term OTF, but other time frame a bit higher than the day time frame which was trying to reverse that auction. So those guys step in and we get a nice push down. So after this push down, we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 periods of one time framing down. The point of control still stayed higher, and then again we get an inside bar. Now once we get this inside bar and we have almost retraced 50% of this bar, even the inside bar as well as the bar before where the inside bar was created, that's a nice point to go long for a break of this inside bar and rally. Now what it did is it rallied and tried to push higher into the previous day's value, but as the time was over, the market just shut. So now this also is an important point. 9140, it was taking support the previous day, and now there is a LVN there. Okay, let's see the 3 minute chart. What has happened there? So we get a drive down and then a sideways move into the upper distribution of the previous day, and then all of a sudden the volume has dried up completely, and multiple retest of VWAP failure, and that was the reason for my sell, because we didn't have a nice spike, but then we had a nice spike down and then it fails and starts pushing down. So a nice push down, tried to create value here, micro value here a bit, but again fails from that. Tries to create another micro value, fails from that as well. Pushes down and goes into a nice demand zone. So it's a nice failure of this swing low, and then starts pushing higher post that 230. Now almost we are in balance of this entire move, so any move away from this balance would be a new move most probably. The tick was extremely negative throughout, so the underlying was being sold. On the 15 minute, we have a nice contracted range, not able to even like go into the day mid. And then we have a combination of demand, supply, demand, no supply, no demand, no supply, and breaks through that zone with a negative delta. Delta goes extremely negative, and then all that is absorbed. Weekend. So any players who don't want to carry forward the positions need to exit. And finally we had some short covering coming in, and closed almost uh, in the lower zone, but still a decent close off the lows. Now let's see what we can expect for today, and let's have a look at the Renko. So on the Renko, we had impulse move down. Obviously, not tradable within 12 seconds. It almost like came down 25 points. Then a push back up, and then again an impulse down, creates a zipper, again starts the impulsive move. So impulse, zipper, impulse, pullback, impulse, zipper, impulse, gets that move done. Now after so post that, it took a lot of time, but the auction was leaned towards the downside post this nice balance. And then it tries to push up in an impulse, is not able to get through this zipper, again comes down, makes a fresh low for the day, tries to pull back up into this zipper, fails, comes back but not able to cross the low, and finally creates another zipper to lean on. And that's the point to get into the longs when this is taken out. So once this zipper is made and it crosses, is a sign, and I had expected 28, so came and made a high of 31. So that move was almost done, comes into this LVN back again, and then closes just below this huge LVN of the day. Now, following the French presidential election results, there will be a lot of optimism in the world markets, and might get quite volatile. Let's see. So let's take out this. Take a marker and mark this zone. So this is important. This is important, and this is important. So expecting open somewhere between into this range, and if it does a open drive and pushes through this 9170, then might retest and continue its move up above the 9200 zone. In case it fails into this 9180, then push back down into the 9140 zone, try to push up, and then again move down into the settle of Friday. Any push below that would make it go and retest the lows of Friday, and then try to bounce back up from there. If it finds more supply there, then push into the 90770 zone, and then continue its move down into the 9050 zone. So a high probability that we get a gap up due to the optimism in the world markets, but that gap up, if does not sustain, then would act like Friday. Now let's have a look at the Bank Nifty profile. Bank Nifty profile, we again had a similar thing. Open above the range of the previous day, try to push up but fail and come inside. And create value within the previous day's value, try to push higher, fail, and then give a spike down. So one, two, three, 4, and 5 periods of one time framing down, get a inside bar, but not that tradable, because that makes a poor low, and then pushes higher into the point of control. So the point of control shifts down a bit. Point of control is lower than of Thursday. So that is one important point to carry forward. And overall, if we see, we merge till here, then this entire zone is like the fair price, 21,540 to 21,560. That's a fair price that the market is willing to accept. So any push higher might try to retest the Friday highs and even push above that to test once, and any push lower would test the Friday lows. Let's have a look at the 3 minute. So on the 3 minute, we had a drive down, a nice balance, break from that, again a nice balance, and the volumes were picking up as it came lower. And within this balance, we had a nice accumulation, a false break of that balance. So when there is activity going on in this zone, and if it breaks and comes back into that zone, then it's a clean failure. So micro balance failure cannot be just random, that it breaks. How do we know whether this micro balance failure is going to accelerate on the downside, accelerate on the upside after a break, or is it going to come back and travel the entire balance? So this is a nice sign that there was accumulation going on, and it broke down all of a sudden with a spike, then reverses back into this range and closes. Even a 3 minute close is more than enough. It gives lot of information that there is something or someone who is not interested in lower prices, and that produces a move and travels that entire balance. Then again, we get a channeled move up and goes into the previous day's point of control and previous days VWAP as well, and even the developing point of control. So the close is stronger than of Nifty, and might carry the move higher in anticipation or in relative to the international markets. Now on the 15 minute, we have a nice balance after this move down. So pushes here and then creates a nice balance, breaks down from that balance. Negative delta coming in and goes and breaks. Now see what happens. There was a lot of momentum here. Now what we assumed as accumulation was going into negative delta on the momentum, but on the uptick downtick it was showing positive. So I would always like go with this, because this absorption is a nice sign. So after this absorption creates this move higher and then again got sold into that move higher. Now let's see the Renko. So a very, very awkward move on the Renko. Impulse down, pull back, impulse, pull back, impulse, then goes and creates a balance. This was looking like it might break out, but doesn't do that. And then a jittery move down, then again all of a sudden an impulse, and then going sideways and creating lot of noise here. So almost not tradable into this zone. Then we get three impulses down, and this minor zipper is what we can lean on. So this was a nice move. So where we can play this impulse, let it stay above this zipper, and then wait for another impulse to form. So we could have traded like two impulses. What happens later is just a bonus if we can trail it, but otherwise I would not like think of waiting, and goes into the volume based point of control of the day. Now what we can expect today. So this is important zone. Also it was the previous day's close. This is another important zone. 21,640. This pullback is important. 21,605 approx. And then this entire zipping zone is important. 21,440 kind of zone. So expecting open and either open and drive higher and push through the highs and go into the 21,740 kind of zone. If that doesn't happen, then push back down through this into this LVN and then try to again push higher. So might do that as well. If it gets into this zone and starts getting supply, then push down and retest the lows and break below the lows. From there we'll have to just see what it does, because it's like it's in balance, and it might this might result, this entire zone might be a shakeout which the people are not interested to trade any longer, and we might start uh, moving higher based on this information. So I think that's it for today. And post the open, we'll let it settle and then take a decision what to do, because uh, seems like we might react to the French election results coming in for the first round, and need to be careful. Might get extremely volatile. So thanks for watching, and have a profitable trading day ahead.